the president of Aryavarta Space Organization.
Thank you very much, and very good afternoon to all of you. I know it's a little bit tough to especially attend the presentations after lunch. But I'll try to make it a little bit interesting and interactive. And however, I'm not as much expert as you people are, but I'll try to share my ideas and views and the recommendations that what can commercial activities or precisely say the civil activities we can do to reduce the threat of space debris from Earth orbit. Myself is Rushi Ghadawala. I represent Aryavarta Space Organization, which is a space research and development organization from India. We do conduct research and development in different areas of aerospace industries such as science and technology, life science, space policy, and space law. So in this data presentation, what I'm going to speak is, give you a brief about the role of private space players in the industry, and then obviously you people are much more expert, but I'll just share a brief about how important and how significant the threat is of the threat of space debris to entire humanity, and what are the initiatives which are being taken, or what are the issues concerned with, and what are the challenges, followed by the recommendations and the suggestions. The space sector, as we know that it's entering in a period of a tremendous dynamism, and in fact, in the next 20 to 50 years, it's going to present both the private and the government sector with a range of opportunities to advance national security, resource development, and a broad range of public and private services using space assets, technologies, and applications. Individual consumers are a growing source of a demand by the services, particularly in the communication and navigation industry. In the last 10 to 15 years, there has been a significant growth in commercial remote sensing business. A few years ago, to get Earth imaging data was just being limited to only government industry. But now, with the advancement of technology, and the people who are having internet access can easily get this information through the service provider and through the mappings on their website. We all know that commercial space revenue has already increased. Thank you. Commercial space revenue has increased in last decade to $200 billion in general. And as I said, that it's a high demand for television and personalized GPS devices these days. So the commercial space industry has embarked a significant importance in a global community. The benefits of a private players, which covers the lower launch cost because of high competition, the significant growth in remote sensing business, as I mentioned, efficient operations, and low-cost LEO and GEO operations. However, there are also few challenges, like limited connection, and in some cases, it does affect the financial issues that we'll see in a while. Threat of space debris has been significant, and especially since 1991 to 2009. I tried to summarize the collisions or the incidents happened because of the space debris crash, or it has been the reason to create a space debris in Earth's orbit. The most two significant debris incidents were the latest one in 2007, Chinese anti-satellite test, and in 2009, satellite collision between Iridium and Cosmos 251. In inter-orbital debris, the major portion occupies the inactive satellites. The rest of the portion also comprises of rocket upper stages, faint flags, and even non-functional the functioning satellites which are damaged because of certain reason. Technological concern, if you will see that for in connection of space debris for the private space sector, it's a high competition, more number of ideas in innovation. Obviously, when we have a more higher competition, it is going to trigger a higher number of ideas in innovation to reduce the threat of space debris or to find out the innovative solutions, especially for LEO. And as we have more participation, that will lead to the efficient implementation. But along with that, there is also one more issue. It's technical issue regarding addition of a noise and a bandwidth for imaging. And effect of debris clouds, which is occupying the orbit, which can be dangerous in future for any satellite launching or even the space tourism. This is now what my previous friend has mentioned, that if you are planning for suborbital flights or even the orbital flights, the space debris, even if it is re-entering the Earth, it can be very good danger to aircrafts or even humans on the Earth, because if it is containing radioactive material, it might contaminate Earth's environment as well. Obviously, there are also a few legal issues connected with this liability concern with respect to different international treaties, and corporate responsibilities. Obviously, concerning funding is a major one. The involvement of non-government and civil society organizations on a global fund, and empowering research and development, which is the most important according to me. And if you talk about the challenges and opportunities, if you talk about challenges and opportunities, so there is a risk for any space mission that I will just cover in a while. Involving active debris removal mission, it involves financial risk, less profit, and the concern of operational safety. However, that also triggers opportunities like active involvement of international communities and public-private partnership, and it will provide a new and strong platform to find the solutions to reduce the threat of space debris from the orbits. The major overview can be drawn as for active debris removal is identification of stakeholders. If you identify the stakeholders concerning from different companies and private organizations at international level, and with the help of civil society organizations and academic institutions to design, to define the problems with the mission statement, as well as to design a scope of issues, that what are the issues which are concerned, how the baseline can be connected, or how the baseline can be framed out. Over there, obviously, we can take the backing of government and national space agencies is required. For the funding, insurance companies, local international funding agencies, along with the government, will be very much important to put this project, such missions into practice. And the help of academic institutions majorly, with the partnership of private organizations and the companies. The mission can be, actual mission can be designed and put in practice with identification of different risks involved with the mission. Also, along with that, one of the roles which is very important is to raise awareness on ongoing regular basis, because this is something like we need to create, we need to come up with new and new ideas each day because of the limitations of the present technology. And one of the most important aspect which I will try to cover, and obviously Simpson is the most expert for that on space situational awareness. So it is recommended that to provide a two-way information exchange, right, sir? Within the countries and within the organizations, to provide the exact locations of the satellites or the debris. For example, United States Space Surveillance Network has the capability to track the debris larger than 10 centimeters. But however, it should be this information is available only to certain level. But there are a number of debris which are less than 10 centimeters. At the same time, there are many more issues which are connected, including financial and political aspects, which requires to be taken into consideration and brought up with the help of UNCOPS and civil society organizations across the world. I'm looking for this studies and just quickly come up with a risk assessment. Just try to figure out that the different parts of any active debris removal mission. The risk which is involved at different level can be from the significant risk to the catastrophe. Especially if the launch opportunity which is lost, it can create, it can result in a increment of the project cancellation and a higher amount of funding. So it's a catastrophic disaster for any active debris removal mission. Similarly, if its launch is delayed or even if it is a docking failure, especially I'll talk about any mission, active debris removal mission, which are connected or concerned with attachment of robotic arm or the harpoon, or even using the net to catch the debris objects. Sorry, I don't want to, I will not be able to cover it, but yeah. So if there is a docking failure or deorbiting failure is there, so it may also result in creating more debris into space. And according to my knowledge, that's what happened in 2007, as per the records which I have read or which I found. The Chinese anti-satellite missile was actually meant to destroy the satellite and put it in a very small pieces while re-entering the Earth, so that it can burn off in the Earth's atmosphere. But something goes wrong, something went wrong, and that has created a significant impact. And the orbital debris cloud has been most dangerous in that particular region. So the recommendations which I suggest is for the partnership development, basically public-private partnership, or based on the inter-government treaties or the commercial development under the government roof. The joint ventures are required to reduce the threat of space debris and to remove this active debris from low Earth orbit, especially NGO. Because I believe personally that if we are just shifting it to the graveyard orbit, we are actually delaying this issue. We need to find out certain other innovative ways to remove the space debris. For that, even also NGOs and CSO involvement in coordination with UNCOPS for the strict enforcement of orbital debris mitigation regulations to find out the potential solutions for the present challenges. There is also requirement of vital participation from private space sector along with civil society organizations to draft a universal space debris legal regime. Also, it is important to identify and prioritize the candidate orbital debris. This can be done by this survey or the monitoring network by private companies, or it can the data information can be sent to registered at the UNUSA for registration of orbital debris, considering the liability purpose, and this such information can be shared with all. Mission implementation can be taken place if it is like properly designed with the support of institutions and private organizations, and obviously where the government funding is majorly required at present. Also, it is required to prepare a common platform to draft a voluntary guideline for the countries to adopt under the roof of with the support of civil society organizations and NGOs. It is also recommended that UNCOPS or UNUSA office largely should take care for the strict enforcement of it. And at the same time, we also need to encourage more and more genuine stakeholders from different fields, from the different part of the countries, for the better governance of the space. Also, active involvement is required to empower the research and development to find out more and more innovative solutions, and To raise the awareness, other players like societies and corporations connected with different aerospace sector regime are required to, with the support of the government and federation and national space agencies, it is required to have active participation in order to find out, to implement the present technologies to remove the debris from low Earth orbit, as well as to find out new and more innovative solutions. I would like to end up here. Thank you very much.
Any questions? Yes, yes.
Have you mentioned the insurance industry on one of your slides? Have you had the opportunity to speak to anyone in the insurance industry?
I spoke to one of the person in India, and he was connected with Antariksha Corporation, and this is what I have been told, that the insurance underwriters are providing coverage for overall mission up to 75%. However, none of them are providing the coverage for the damage which has been occurred because of the space debris.
Other questions? Yes, Ram.
I think it is. You are sitting in front of his
No, this sounds a little frivolous, but talking about the insurance and particularly with respect to space, are there little fine print says that insurance not covered against act of God?
I do not think so, sir.
Because debris won't be act of God, but there may be some other things. And then who will be responsible for that?
That's what I say, that there's a lacking of universal law. That's why the countries should come up under this platform of United Nations. There should be specific regulation which has to be strictly enforced with the countries. Because the conflict has what we have seen yesterday, the conflict has happened because of the collision between the US and Russian satellite. But however, it was a mistake and it has been considered that it's a mistake for both the countries. But because of the debris which has been created because of this collision, if any other satellite is being hit by this debris disease and if it is damaged, so that's where the another liability concern comes up. And that's why still it's absolutely, I would say it's very unclear legal design which requires to be looked upon.
For those who are interested in insurance, one of the hats I wear is Senior Fellow of the International Institute of Space Commerce. And they are doing an event in London on the 1st, I believe, of February that's focusing on insurance. And it's some of the space insurance issues, of which debris is one small one. But for those interested in sort of exploring some of the evolution and thinking of the insurance industry about space, that will be here, and I believe the International Space University and the International Institute of Space Commerce websites have details on them. Interestingly, on the question of insurance and debris, the most interesting statement I've heard within the last year from the insurance industry was in response to whether they would consider premium reductions for those who participated in the Space Data Association. And the response was at once mildly disappointing but interesting, and it was that they would probably not consider a premium reduction, but they might consider paying the membership fee for an organization, a company that wanted to join the Space Data Association, indicating that at that level they thought that they would be improving their business situation and perhaps providing an incentive to be part of that large commercial cooperation effort in data analysis sharing. So there is some evolution in thinking within the insurance industry, but they're struggling to figure this out too.
one point that needs to be recalled at this stage is that when you look at the debris threat, in fact, the debris threat in the geo orbit is minimal. In the geo orbit, the main problem that the voyages face is interference and the risk of interference with each other. And in fact, the SDA association is very much aimed at reducing this risk of interference. The collision threat is a problem in LEO. And in fact, as we all know, there was an accidental collision in 2009. And the forecast at this time is that there will be an accidental collision every 4 or 5 years, destroying either an active satellite or a collision between a rocket body and a satellite. So that is beginning to be a real problem, particularly in this sun-circumference orbit and also the 80 degrees inclination orbit. So when we talk about debris and active debris removal, we have to recall that we are mostly talking about LEO. And we are mostly talking about the certain orbits in the LEO environment, not the GEO.
Although increasingly I'm hearing operators, the big operators, saying that they are beginning to be worried about GEO. Even granted that debris in and of itself is not as big an issue, there are still satellites, non-operable satellites in GEO from before the days when anybody sent them to graveyard orbits that are beginning to complicate the placement of satellites in what are very restricted slots. And so the problem with GEO is not that there's a lot of debris, but that there are relatively few places in GEO that are really, really valuable. And so I think you're exactly right. There's a very different kind of issue in GEO, but it's beginning to be a matter of considerable interest. And of course, in MEO, which does include a fair amount of the polar and sun-synchronous orbits, you know, this is, all these things are crossing at the same place, and that is the other area where debris is going to be increasingly a problem. And I think that's where the collision, part of the collision of Iridium was in that. It was in MEO, actually, was it not?
No, it was LEO. It was 120
Because
kilometers.
of which,
Okay. Other questions?
I have a comment, short one. I think the whole issue of ADR is gaining momentum. It started 5-6 years ago or something. I think it's because of the accident between Iridium and Cosmos. I think it's about, and the kind of issues you have listed or discussed, they all need to be addressed. But one thing is that for 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, a year ago, we had a conference in Montreal. 5 years came up at that time, we were presented to the United Nations Scientific and Technical Subcommittee. One thing is, perhaps companies, those who are looking at technologies or those who are going to master this technology for ADR, will also be looking at on-orbit servicing. So the technologies are essentially the same, but of course it's different. So that on-orbit servicing is becoming very important with that. The second thing is that international regulatory change you mentioned, that's very important, but that may take 10, 15 years to come about. You know, or say 5 to 10 years, right? That does not mean the companies can wait or should wait. But they can work out some kind of bilateral arrangement between the countries first and the companies to remove. So that they have to identify what piece has to be removed. To do that, they need the permission of the launching state or state of registration. And those nitty-gritty legal matters can be sorted on practical basis. People need to work on that. What I'm saying is, rather than make, it's a good idea to have overview, but case studies will be very useful for everybody to understand what needs to be done and when needs to be done, who needs to be done. The last point is that the technologies for ADR or on-orbit services, it is very similar to use these with respect to their use for stealing somebody's satellites or destroying them, or anti-satellite, whatever you call them. So the strategic issues are very important, but we need to consider that. And also when you're developing, there will be a lot of debate in the United Nations. And this is, those has to be factored in and looked at very, very, very carefully. So the thing, what I'm trying to see, I'm muddying the water further than the view. Things are not as simple as we think or should be, but they need to be made. And those factors need to be looked at very, very carefully.
Yeah, I do agree with you, sir. But first of all, let me answer your first comment of on-orbiting services, which is, I believe, it's much more risky because you don't know the tumbling rate of a debris and you don't know the speed of a debris. So by docking it, that is a significant threat of docking failure, and that might lead to another disaster, sir. So I have my own doubts for on-orbiting services. And at present, I believe the technology is not has been that advanced to find out the solutions for on-orbiting services.
Specifically with a non-cooperating chart, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I definitely don't like to dispute that because I do not know that. What I know is the Canadian company, MDA, did not develop or did not get into agreement with the Intercept for debris removal. They went for on-orbit services. Now, second point is that you cannot remove something if you're going to capture it. So I don't really see.
Well, you can't.
Whatever you do that, I'm saying if it's a tumbling, you got to capture it. For removal, copies are on-orbit is something. Again, please forgive me. I do not know the technologies behind it.
There are
I'm saying that those are the things, but these are the issues to be considered. But I know Canada has, of course, the Europeans are coming up with very good ideas which are being tested in those countries.
There are three good ideas which can be useful to remove the debris. One is just like recently we have seen in Australian presentation for having to net capture it, which is also a possible concept. Hypothesis has this. I believe the research is still going on in that. Second is the robotic arm attachment to robotic arm. There are a couple of research made by different universities, including Cranfield University, where I got myself was involved in that. And also the third one is a little bit very expensive but also risky method of laser ablation. However, it has its own doubt whether it is useful only for smaller pieces or it can be also useful for larger pieces at the in future. So these are like three various techniques which can be very much straight away useful for active debris removal rather than on-orbiting services.
And there is some interesting research, but it's still theoretical on the notion of artificial atmospheric drag. That is actually generating gas clouds in front of debris that basically cause friction and therefore reduce the velocity, and the amount of delta V you need to deorbit is really less than many people think. And so in that case you would solve the non-cooperating problem by, in effect, creating a gas cloud in front of the orbiting object. And simulations are showing that it's worth looking at more. Seeing what it actually would do if you try to use it is part of what will make the next 5 years interesting. But it does solve that problem, not having to touch the object, which is really interesting because it gets the lawyers out of the way.
Yeah, also it looks much more safer as well.
Right. Other questions?
So, Michael, you want me to be on the front, right?
Oh, no. I just want to reduce your workload.
Good answer.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Ghadawala.